Hey, I'm Carly-Rae, and this is Book Hour with Jessica and Alyssa.
Hi, I'm Jessica Koosed Etting.
Hi, I am Alyssa Embree Schwartz. We are the authors of The Lost Causes
and Fade into the Bright. We are here today with Hey, it's Carly-Rae.
I'm so excited to have Jessica and Alyssa here on Hey, it's Carly-Rae Book Hour. We're going to be finding out more about their writing journey and about Fade into the Bright, their latest novel.
Growing up, I gravitated toward two different genres. One was the contemporary fiction, like Babysitter's Club, and the other was the polar opposite, the creepy Lois Duncan books, the mysteries, the thrillers, Nancy Drew. And usually I was reading one of each at the same time, because if the Lois Duncan book would creep me out too much, then I would go over and read about Christy and Marianne and the Babysitter's Club, and that was kind of shiny and happy before I could go back to the scarier thrillers. I have always wanted to be a writer. I have these books in my childhood home that I wrote in third grade, like many series that I wrote. I look back at them and they are very cringy, but they're also hilarious, and they show how much I love writing. And I knew that writing would be a part of whatever I ended up doing, but this is like a dream come true to be a writer as my actual job. I would tell my younger writing self when I was writing my first novel to calm down, because a great editor is a huge help, and that's something I didn't realize then. And I would also say to write in my journal, because that was something I didn't do while I was writing the first novel, because I felt like I'm writing all day. I don't want to then go write some more. I don't have anything left in me. But now that I have continued to write in my journal as I'm writing a novel, I found that it sparks just a completely different kind of creativity. And it's something that I wouldn't get to just by staring at the screen and writing and thinking about the work. But there's just something about reflecting and being introspective that allows you to gain an even better understanding of the characters, and also just takes you in places that you wouldn't expect to go. We've grown a lot as writers since that first novel, besides just that we don't use the words like as much in our manuscripts. We learned how to cut that down, but we also have learned to trust the process more. We used to belabor every word on the page, but now we're okay with having a first draft that we don't really like, even hate sometimes, because we know that we will eventually be able to transform it into something that we love. And we remind ourselves that a lot of times when we're, pulling our hair out about how the first draft isn't working. But once we just get it down on the page, we really trust that we can get it to where we want it to be.
So our new book, Fade into the Bright, really asks the question, would knowing how you're going to die change the way that you live and love? So it's the story of two sisters, one summer, and a diagnosis that changes everything. When Brooke and Abby discover that the gene for Huntington's disease runs in their family, which is a fatal neurodegenerative disease, they both agree to undergo genetic testing. And when one of them tests positive, Abby instinctively flees to the rustic island of Catalina, where nobody knows who she is or what her story is. The only problem is when she meets Ben, an aspiring filmmaker who is intent on discovering everybody's story, she is forced to reckon with what her future holds and what it may mean for who she wants to be and who she can love.
We definitely do get writer's block, but we're very lucky because we don't usually get it at the same time. So we can rely on the other person to pull the other one out of that black hole that is like quicksand and you could just get stuck in forever. When we do get writer's block at the same time, we know that means that we have to take a day away. We just can't look at the manuscript, can't think about it for an entire day, even if it means we have to pull an all-nighter the next day. We just need that time away, and that has always worked for us from the beginning. We've been writing together for about 18 years now in TV and film and now novels, so we have a pretty well-honed operating system of how we write. We start out with a very detailed outline that we do together on FaceTime, not together in the same room. Jessica lives in Los Angeles and I live in DC. So we have our outline on a Google Doc, and I think we're the only people on earth who would ever understand what the outline is and what the story is, because at this point we just have shorthand for our shorthand. So we outline it together, and then we always leave the last few chapters kind of loose. We know that for us, usually as we're writing, some sort of character mutates into something else or a storyline changes. So we would just rather it grow organically and not feel pinned down to anything if that's not how the story, starts to evolve. Then after we do our very detailed outline, it's time to split up the chapters. So we each write a chapter, then we send it to the other one. We edit the other person's work and then send it back, and we just keep swapping and editing back and forth until we're happy with it. And at the end of the entire process, we don't even know who's written what, because it's all just melded together in a really perfect and beautiful way.
So as far as our writing process goes, it really varies. On the days where we're working together on Skype, we have both office spaces that we use within our house, and we generally stay there. Of course, we're very different. Alyssa's is really neat and beautiful, and everything is super organized. And meanwhile, mine is super messy. There's always like a few empty tea mugs, some half-drunk cans of LaCroix, because that's what I really need to get through a day of writing. But if I'm working on my own or Alyssa's working on our own, like we're each writing a different chapter, then we don't always stay in our office. I love to move to other parts of my house every few hours, even outside of my house. Of course, my local coffee shop, they know who I am. They know my order. They know which table I like to sit at because it's very close to a plug. And that's definitely where part of this last book was written, as well as even sometimes in my car. Wherever you have to write to get it done, that's what you do.
There's not a set time that it takes us to write a novel. It's kind of all over the place depending on the deadline. If it's up to us, we like to have a lot of freedom in the front so that we can do research. We had a lot of research we did for Fade Into the Bright, and it was nice because we had some time to immerse ourselves in that world before we jumped right in. And so it's always obviously great to have more time, but we luckily also work very well under pressure. So we can kind of make it work either way.
So developing characters is one of our favorite things to do as authors. We both have a background where we went to theater school. That's actually how Alyssa and I met. And so we love, both as actors but also as writers, kind of delving into what that backstory of the character is. And when you go to theater school, they teach you need to know everything about the person you're portraying. What did they eat for breakfast this morning? What was their most embarrassing moment as a child? And think about those things. And so we love to do that now from the writing perspective as we're crafting these characters. Whether or not you necessarily see it all on the page, we like to know it. We don't necessarily base characters off of other characters that we've seen or even people that we know. But what we will do is there may be something specific about someone we know, a specific trait that we find really intriguing. And so we'll give something like that to a character that we're starting to develop. Or it could even be a person that we don't know, that we see in the grocery store, and there's something interesting that we overheard them say. And now that becomes the basis, the genesis of a character in our books. Generally, the way it works is that we find that one guiding trait, that one thing that we hone in on from the start of, yes, that clicks, that feels right for this character. And then we organically start building from there until we have something that feels really human and organic and like someone whose story we're excited to tell.
I don't know that I have a favorite necessarily of anything that I've written, but Fade Into the Bright is definitely really close to the top. It was incredibly personal for both of us, and we really lived in that world for a while, even before we started writing it. And we went to Catalina Island, where the book is set, and immersed ourselves in everything there. We experienced everything we possibly could there. we met some great people who actually became inspirations for some of the characters in the book. And I also love Abby and Ben, the main characters. They just were really fun to write and to go back and read. And it was a very fun experience writing those two characters in their particular story. What I hope readers take away from Fade into the Bright is just for it to stay with them. After I read a book that I loved, it stays with me for weeks, months, years sometimes. And I hope that happens for our readers. We ask a lot of bigger life questions in this book. We explore territory we never have really explored before in anything we've written. Even though Jessica and I have been friends for so long, we actually talked about things we'd never talked about and found out things about each other that we never knew while writing this book. So I hope that our readers can be introspective too while they read it and can ask themselves some of these questions in a way that they haven't before. We did have to go to some dark places while writing this book, but it was that overwhelming feeling of hope that really anchored us, and I hope that that's what the readers take away when they finish the book too.
Thank you for watching our book hour with Hey, It's Carly-Rae. Alyssa and I were so excited to be here today. You can find our newest book, Fade into the Bright, wherever books are sold. Big plug to try to buy it from your local bookstore. They really need our support right now. We'd love to see you guys on social media.
Want to get in touch with us? We'd love for you to reach out. All of our links for social media are in the description below.
Thank you, Jessica and Alyssa, for joining me on my Hey, It's Carly-Rae Book Hour. I loved hearing your story and all about Fade into the Bright. You guys can go to the links in the description below and get your copy. You guys can also find out more from Jessica and Alyssa on social media or on HeyitsCarlyRae.com. I hope you guys give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts, and if you have a favorite book by Jessica and Alyssa. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Bye!